Go for it. Hi, welcome to Practicing Love. I'm TJ Noonan. I'll be your host. Thanks for joining us. We'll be doing a show about family law corruption. We'll be talking with various members of different organizations who are fighting family law and working to reform the system. It's going to be an amazing event, and I'm glad you could join us. My first guest tonight is going to be a man who started a movement called Parents United Worldwide. He's a passionate warrior in the fight, and I'm very proud to be his friend. Please help me welcome Bud Veno.
Thanks, TJ. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on this beautiful Thursday evening. More toward the night now, right?
That's right.
How you
Thanks
doing,
for
brother?
joining us.
Thanks,
Bud.
pal. I appreciate it.
So glad you could be here.
Yeah, I'm honored to be here, pal.
Can't think of a better friend to have as my first guest. You're a beautiful man.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Don't make my head get too swelled, but thank you. It's reciprocated, like I said the other night on the radio.
Yeah. Bud also does a radio show with our friend Jay Moss once a week on Tuesday nights on blogtalk.com.
Yeah, with Jay Moss. Jay's another warrior that, honestly, I can't even remember when we got in contact. There's so many people, but he's another one that's very outspoken, very smart. We talked about that circle that we have. It's all encompassing, but the real tight, small circle that we have, that people that we kind of, the shoulders we cry on, things like that, the people we know, the Tracy Rosses we talked about earlier.
The real friends.
Yes, and somebody had brought up a question, it might have been Jim Cropper, and the bomb dropper, our friend, how many friends can you count on one hand, or how many friends do you have that you can count? And I said, if you have enough to fill one hand, you're lucky.
That's right.
So, yeah, but I consider you one of those on my one hand.
Absolutely.
So,
I'm glad you're in my foxhole.
Yeah, there you go.
Why don't you, we're talking about family law corruption and the effects it has on families, children, and parents. Why don't you give the viewers a little glimpse of your history with
Sure.
the family law corruption?
Sure, absolutely. Well, the first I'll preface, I think I've got a unique perspective because I was a victim of alienation myself as a child, not even knowing what it was. It's still a very foreign concept, as you know. Some people never even heard of it. I've got the unique blend of seeing my oldest son. He's 11 years old. Carter up there, love you, buddy, whatever it is. And to Mason, I've got a 6-year-old boy too. Lucky, got 2 beautiful boys. But it started happening against me and my son, obviously, back before his mother even had him. And I think that's where we kind of come in terms of us meeting inevitably with this. Loving yourself, and I think that is the problem with how it starts. Kind of getting off a little tangent.
Yeah. How did you lose custody of
Well,
Carter?
his mother and I were in a very short-term relationship. I'm talking from beginning to end was maybe 3 months. I was coming off a marriage that was ending, and I was very emotionally. Yeah, vulnerable, raw. I mean, and it was a very much, and this isn't anything disrespectful, it was very much a rebound without realizing it. And I very much transposed, in terms of her, giving her any outs, but I very much transposed my ex-wife onto her, which I think is a typical thing when you're emotionally scarred and kind of stunned as I was. So we kind of were doomed from the start, honestly. She was very young. I was pushing 30. She was 21. I was making a lot of money at a sales position, but I didn't have a good grasp on myself emotionally at all. It was all about image. Yeah. As you know, I was a police officer before that. I was in my early 20s. I was in the academy. I graduated the academy in '99, the part-time academy. what I'll get back to is the alienation that I went through as a child. Now, mind you, I didn't have my biological father in my life since I was about 6 months old, and my mother she left when I was about 10. My point to that is it causes a lot of insecurities when you don't have. Sorry, TJ.
No. I just wanted to point out that parental alienation, for those who don't know, is when one parent alienates their child from another parent, and it's a common problem, and that's exactly what we're fighting. So I just wanted to define what we're talking about.
Yeah, thank you for bringing us up to speed there for the people that don't know, because unfortunately there are a lot that don't.
Exactly.
That don't believe that they're suffering at the hands of this, but they are, and we know the deal there. Get back to that. Without having that solid foundation in terms of, now, God bless my stepfather, he made a lot of mistakes. He did a lot of wonderful things too. But not having that foundation led to a lot of insecurities that dictated a lot of the ways that I conducted myself in every aspect of my life, whether it was career choices, whether it was any relationship with anybody that I was involved with. And it tainted it.
And I think that what I'm hearing is that you didn't know how to live.
Exactly.
And you lived and you made it up as you went along. Right.
And that's not living.
No.
So what I found was history repeating itself. Now, if you know anything about the law of attraction, and I know you do.
Unfortunately.
Fortunately, too. It's a good thing now. But it's not hard to figure out why history repeats itself. You know, certain fears we have. My ex-wife leaving. My biggest fear, right? My mother leaving. And then, oh my God, how did that...
Yeah.
It's not... Hello. My belief is these certain things are mapped out for us. My point is I started to see, when my son was born and as he got older, history repeating itself in terms of the way I was being minimized.
Right.
And a lot of it, I believe, not that I believe, I know, boils down to self-confidence, loving yourself.
Yeah.
But I saw a lot of things that I was doing. Boils down to this. I didn't want my son coming to me when he was older and saying, why didn't you do more?
Right.
And unless I was dead, I'm sorry, I wasn't doing enough if I wasn't seeing him. That was just, I couldn't live with the guilt.
Yeah.
And I couldn't live with his mother minimizing me and treating me like a child, myself, in terms of the way she treated me.
Right.
I allowed that. My wife hates here. Say hi to my wife, Allison, out there too. I allowed that. And what I say is I didn't have the intestinal fortitude to say no. It's unacceptable. I'm his father. I'm just as important.
Yeah.
But what happens is people start to think that they can continue to treat you this way.
Right.
And you start to believe that you're not worth it. And that will bleed over into the way your child conducts themselves.
Right.
They see a father who just doesn't think highly of themselves. You think that your child's going to be an empowered. That happens, but it's rare.
Right. Now, you're still in contact. You still have contact with Carter.
I actually have a court-ordered visitation with Carter every Saturday morning.
Good.
Yeah, it is. Not good enough. That's the way it is right now. It's going to be more. Again, we've discussed this, TJ, and I told my ex this from the beginning. And President Trump, so this has no correlation because this is before he was president. You can't trump love.
Right.
Love always trumps hate. And I told this from the beginning. He's 11 years old now. You keep alienating him, it's only going to hurt you.
Right.
Because the older he gets, he's going to know truths. Don't do this, I said to her from the beginning. Do not do this to yourself for your relationship with that boy. And I see it. And it's called karma.
Yeah.
I don't take any pride or pleasure in him thinking any negativity on it, toward his mother.
Right.
But that's nothing that I'm in control of. Again.
And how is this affecting Carter?
Well, it's funny because it has, and a lot of people don't know and they don't see, but it affects every aspect. I've got, again, I mentioned my 6-year-old little buddy out there, Mason. Choked out thinking about it. But it affects all, and my wife too. We've had numerous arguments at 3 in the morning with tears out of frustration, fear of missing that kid, wondering what's going on, and being completely powerless. Because I've taken, it's in the 40s in terms of the amount of times I've driven to the courthouse to file things that were just not productive. In terms of it was fruitless.
Right.
And I came to realize the sad fact is that it's very much game, this whole system. Because people go into it thinking that if I am doing right, and I'm doing this out of love, I'm not trying to hurt anyone, and the people will see it. The judges, they won't see it. It'll just be transparent as a freshly cleaned pane of glass, right? And it's not that way.
No.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, that's what they're looking for. Are you paying child support?
Yes,
currently?
I am,
Okay.
And I don't think I've been late in terms of my child support being paid in 8 years.
Yeah. Okay, that brings me to my next point. Title IV, Title IV D and E. We are all affected by that. Everyone who pays taxes.
I know you're very passionate about that. You brought that up on the radio the other night, and I know that you've discussed it before. So.
Yeah. Tracy Ross introduced it to me, which really, set me off on the tangent I'm on. I've been on for the last year and a half, but the corruption that comes from family court is linked directly to Title IV, D and E, sections D and E. You have knowledge of that as well. You want to share your knowledge?
Well, not as extensive as what you and Tracy has. Tracy's, in terms of, you're talking about the overall...
Right, just the effects of the corruption, what the corruption causes.
Well, the word
how is it corrupting?
Well, the word that one of the police officers used up in Rochester with me is, in terms of the court that I'm dealing with, is collusion. It's a scary word.
Yeah.
It's a scary word.
Yeah.
But it's a word that's it's a fact, unfortunately. You've got a lot of good old boy networks here in this state, in the Granite State, and all over this country, but this is where we live right now, so that's what we're going to focus on right now. And unfortunately, it isn't always about what's right and wrong, and I realize for me, and I know for you, with this whole practicing love thing that you're doing here, you got to come at things head on. You can't sit back and wait.
Yeah.
You've got to go straight at it. And again, Einstein, definition of insanity, repeating the same behavior and thinking anything is going to change.
Right.
I see people that have been in the movement for 20 years or whatever, and I have a lot of respect for it. But again, I've been doing this for 20 years. How's that working out for you? How's your kids?
Yeah.
And I don't mean that disrespectfully, but again, if you want to get to the end goal, it's like beating your head against the wall. How many times are you going to do that? How many times is the blood going to blind you before you maybe stop hitting that head against the wall and maybe try something different?
Exactly.
Put some padding there and keep hitting it till it breaks.
Yeah. As far as Title IV is concerned, what I've learned, and I'm completely a novice, and believe me, Tracy knows a lot more than I do, and Jay knows more than God. I think Jay knows more than God at this point.
See, I think we all have these OCD tendencies that we get obsessive, and then we just focus 24/7. Yeah.
What I do know is Title IV D offers special incentives to states to what's the word I'm looking for?
In terms of child support and things of that nature, yes.
Right.
Well, I know that Jay has discussed this pretty extensively on the radio, too, in terms of kickbacks, as you discussed, state judges. It's trickle down, and a lot of times. And somebody brought up the medical industry the other day, and it's kind of the same sort of thing with doctors and kickbacks and things in that way. And says, we won't get into that whole thing because we'd be here for all night. But, yeah, and it's unfortunate, but it's just a fact. So, collectively, because they're literally, I get put in groups, I'm in hundreds, if not thousands of them. And it's great, I'm honored, very much so.
Right.
But we've got to kind of put all this together.
Yeah.
It's the biggest word that I can think of right now for this whole movement as a whole is rudderless.
Exactly.
We have a lot of things going in our favor.
And a point I want to make particularly about practicing love, the television production is trying to give each and every movement, every group, every cause that is fighting for the same outcome that we are, the reformation of family law. I want to give a voice to. That's why we're here. Right. And it's a
anything productive. There are a lot of groups out there that are. It's funny because a lot of the narcissist groups that I'm in, I look and it's like, wow, these are narcissists in this group. I don't know if they see it.
Yeah.
A lot of them. But again, I don't focus or put any energy into anything that isn't productive.
Right.
Anything counterproductive, I don't even bother with it.
Right.
People will sometimes private message me, hey, do you hear it? No. Again, is that getting us from A to B?
Right.
If it's not, don't bother me with it.
Right.
But did you? No, I don't care. I don't even care if it was about me. Again, I've said make stuff up. If it doesn't get me to where I want to go, again,
the truth is, that's how I gained respect for you the most, was watching those chats, those private messages going through, and seeing who was involved in them. And you weren't, and I knew that.
Yeah.
I knew why you didn't. You get it, like you said.
Right. It's one of those things that I just don't put any energy, and it's not an attitude of holier than thou or anything like that. It's just more of again, energy.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I've got my little tiny family, and again, at the end of the day, I've said this. I say this a lot, and I've said it on the videos. If it's not at the end of the day, what were you going to do at the end of that day? Was it watch a movie? Was it hang out with a friend? Nothing is going to change in that unless you allow it. If you allow someone to get under your skin, or you allow someone, I mean, unless they're financing you, Jim Cropper, the bomb dropper, right? We're going to elaborate any more than that, but it doesn't matter. And even then, I say, people, and I even say then, even if you're feeding me, I don't care then either. It doesn't mean you're going to disrespect me either.
Yeah.
I'll eat it and tell you to get out.
Right. One thing I'm finding with parental alienation and family law corruption is, yeah, it's a nationwide problem, but there are people all over the world who are suffering from the same problem with different laws, and there are people. I have some great friends in probably 14, 15 different countries around the world, and this is a worldwide movement, and it's going to be making a lot of noise.
Yeah, not trying to walk on you there, TJ, but it's staggering. When I got into this, I'll just give again, I'll preface a little background on the Parents United. I got into this, it started off, again, it was like a lot of us I found out later do. It was 3 in the morning. I had my son had been taken from me. I call it kidnapped. It was kidnapped.
Legal kidnapping.
Right. And I was frustrated. And so I said, well, I'll start this group. And so we can just start a group. And this is a rare thing, I said to myself. This is rare. This will help a lot of people. So I started this group. It was called New Hampshire Dads United. And I just threw some friends in it and this and that. And I used to say, and I've said this a million times too, and I think I've said it too, and at least on the radio, and I used to say people would be amazed. I'd say to my wife, people would be amazed if they knew my story and this and that. Now I'm embarrassed that I've said that, because my story is somewhat Disney compared to some of the stories that I've seen out there. Again, it's not fair to my son. Again, it isn't, and in our relationship. But my point is what you said. It morphed into, it was New Hampshire Dads United. Then it morphed into Dads United Worldwide, because dads started funneling in from all over the world, the UK, South Africa, Vincent Skeen, we discussed earlier, everywhere. And then women started coming in and started giving me a lot of flack about the gender bias dad's title. And I learned more, and I said, wow, and it isn't just a dad thing.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So and people seemed overjoyed when I finally changed it to Parents United Worldwide. It seemed to fit. It flowed.
Absolutely.
And I just find it different because it's more of a motivational and empowerment site. TJ is an administrator on that page. It was quite a coup stealing him, but he helps me out with that page, I will say. And,
well, you've helped me out enough so many times.
I just look at it as different, as more motivational. And what I'll do is, even if I'm up at 4 in the morning, my thought process is this: is somebody out there, especially now, we're pushing 2,300 people in that group.
Yeah.
My thought process all over the world. We're talking all over the world.
Yeah.
I'm like, someone's going to be up right now, and someone's going to be down right now.
Yeah.
Time to bring them up right now, because I'm always up. Again, I said earlier.
Yeah.
Quote, steal something from Weird Science, 1985, John Hughes movie. I could have fun in an insurance seminar.
Yeah.
But again, and it does inevitably. Someone will say, you know what, bud? I was down, and I'm like, that's it.
That's
There's
what I
my
live
drug.
for.
There's my drug.
That's what I live for. I live for those moments when people say thank you.
Yeah.
I know I'm making a difference.
Because we've discussed this too. For me, it's giving what, and I don't say never, what I never had in terms of woe is me, is we've discussed social media, things that weren't around, these groups back when we were experiencing the things that we were experiencing. And now we have them, utilize them. So I'm like, well, I want to give people what I never had.
Right.
That hand.
Right.
And say, hey.
Exactly. I've been fighting. I talked in the interview with Tiffany that we did last month about how I've been fighting this thing for 20 years, pretty much most of the time by myself. And it wasn't until I found, honestly, Tracy Ross. She introduced me to you. I remember that when that happened, and so many other people, and got me going. I found a new direction, You know, like I said, I've been fighting parental alienation. And parental alienation is not recognized by family law, and it's not recognized by the AMA. So I was fighting a ghost. Now we're fighting the oppressor.
Right. Well, exactly. You got to know your opponent.
Right.
And you got to know the mental makeup of your opponent.
Right.
And see, like I've said a lot too, you got to get over the belief. Sometimes if you're thinking, well, you know, I'm doing the right thing, I'm trying to do best for my kids, that the person that you're dealing with necessarily has your same thought process, your same heart. You know, don't think, you've got to just focus. Again, I think of Jackson Robinson. I says tunnel vision.
Tunnel vision.
Focus on the finish. And the finish of those kids. So they don't look in the mirror like we did and say, you know what, I'm nothing. I'm nothing. I'm not worth. I'm not a good father. I'm not a good anything. I'm not even a good human being. So they don't do that. So they look in the mirror and they say, yeah, yeah. When someone tells them they're not, they laugh.
Yeah.
They laugh and recognize what that is.
Absolutely.
Practice love on themselves first.
That's it. It's the only way it works. It's the only way it's going to work. You know, my child is 25 years old. She'll be 26 in a couple of weeks or a couple of months, and I see what she's like now through social media, and it hurts. It hurts bad, and you know. So I can't do anything to help her. I've tried. I've reached out to her a number of times. She's not willing to listen. So be it. Through social media and now hopefully this show and your show and other shows like it, be able to get the message out there to as many people as possible, and watch other people grow. You know, and share what I didn't have with them.
Well, that's important too. That was my fear too. I didn't want my son. See, I've said this about my biological father too, and I've said this. He never had a chance. I didn't want so much time to go by in terms of, you know, not having a solid, consistent relationship with him that he started resenting me as I did my biological father, and the things that she was saying about me starting to stick. That was my driving force, and that he didn't grow up thinking he was nothing.
Yeah.
That I was not going to let that happen. And I won't let that happen. But, you know, I started to see, you know, already at his tender age of 11, I'm starting to already see some of the insecurities. You know, I said to him, it broke my heart because we were telling him stories. He used to, when he was, you know, 4 years old or whatever, right around that age, he'd walk right in the middle of a crowd. Hi, I'm Carter, no filter.
Right.
And no embarrassment, which I don't know where he got that from.
Yeah.
But now, because I told him that, and he said, "Well, I can't even imagine that." You know, and I've heard him say, "I'm stupid." I'm not, and I'm no. And I tell him, you see it when he's around me, and that's really the upsetting thing too. My ex had, I don't say my ex, my son's mother, had said to me, "Man, you know, when she started to see the turnaround in him, you know, while it's good going, Dad, I'm really seeing the positive, you know, just him being around you, and then." For this to happen and her knowing how this is affecting him.
Yeah.
So again, when I say you have to just keep your eye on the prize and not worry about it, again, that's all peripheral background stuff. Any hatred someone has for you, again, if you're loving your child and you know you're doing the right thing,
that's the bottom line.
It doesn't matter to me.
That's right.
It doesn't matter what you say, what you try and do. In the end, when the smoke clears, my kids know that they were worth it.
Right.
Because they are.
Now let me ask you this, Bud. Before your child was kidnapped from you, you said he was taken in the middle of the night. Did you see...
he wasn't taken in the middle, and I used the word kidnap because I had visitation, and I was scheduled, and she just stopped it and said, basically, you're crazy. If you want to see him again, take me back to court. That, to me, is kidnapping.
Right. Yeah, that's basically
I use that word
happened
somewhat loosely and liberally in that sense.
Oh, yeah.
But to me, when, you know, I've said, too, the people I contact, let me ask you this. If you woke up in the morning and your child was not in bed and someone said, hey, if you wanted to see your kid again, take me to court, screw you, what would you do?
Right.
Absolutely. I had no recourse. I had no, you know.
Now, but prior to that happening, did you see any signs from Carter that it was going to happen?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And I've said that to my wife. I've said, you know, because I've reflected, you know, you self-analyze. I do.
Hindsight's
anyway.
20/20.
Yeah, well... See, and so what I did is, I don't have any regrets. I don't believe in that word. I don't believe in the word regrets. It's experiences that shape us, make us or break us. So I don't have any regrets. I've said this to my wife. We've had many conversations about this. I've said, it was inevitable. I sped it up, sure, absolutely, because for the first time I wasn't keeping my mouth shut. I was asking questions. I was saying, this isn't right.
Yeah.
And I knew what was going to happen. she wasn't going to say, yeah, you're right, this isn't right, this is bad. She's going to say, screw you, cut me off to make me pay.
Yeah.
And I was ready for it emotionally. I was very ready for it.
All right, now getting back to the effects on Carter, how he became reclusive. And
Well, sure, there was, you know, again, I've said they had at one point moved, and I have every right to know where my son puts his head at night.
Yeah.
So I asked, and he came out and told me, and my mom told me not to tell you because she said you would come in the window and hurt us at night.
Yeah.
Devastating, because number one, I never thought she would do that. And I confronted her on it. I said, why are you doing that? And she put her head right down. I went, what?
Yeah.
And it started off, honestly, Carter was asking me to spend more time together. He wanted to spend, and I said, absolutely. And I said, well, I'll talk to your mother. I didn't think she'd have a problem with it at all. I thought she'd welcome it. And he told me that next time I saw him on the way home, he said he was excited because I had talked to her and he was going to spend more time with me. And she told him, if you spend any more time with your dad, he's going to steal you from me and you won't see me again.
Right.
So and I couldn't believe that either.
Mm-hmm.
It's that is abuse. I've been physically beaten.
Yeah.
And I've also been mentally abused. And I'll take a punch right in the face.
100
Trust
times.
me,
Absolutely.
you're not going to hurt me.
Yeah.
But when someone tells you that your father could hurt you and your mom,
Yeah.
and the worst thing about it, you know what the worst thing about it is for her and for everyone involved, obviously the damage that she's doing, he knows it's not true.
Right.
So that's damage she's doing to herself.
Right.
Because again, I said in court, everything I have in terms of this, knowing you, is because of love, because of the hate that she spewed. I said in court, keep making me a hero, because everything that I have is thanks to her.
Right.
If you look at it in that way. And you have to.
And you're fortunate in that Carter knows that at this point in his life. You know, when I lost my daughter to her, I could see it happening. I could see signs. You know, the first question my daughter ever asked me when she could talk was, "Daddy, why'd you run away?" So this is what she was being fed from the beginning. And as the end of the marriage came about, and I could see my ex-wife scripting what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And looking back, I can see it. You know, at the time, it was a joke.
Right.
We laughed about it.
And I know I was going to say too, not to go back to what you were saying, you know, and I know it hurts with your daughter, and I know you know this too. You got to remember, and we've said this before. There's memos about it. Hate is learned.
Right.
Love isn't. Kids are not. It's not innate for a child to hate their parent. So just know that and stay that course and keep loving. They will come to you. Not that you should just give up and wait.
Yeah.
Love is easy. Hate is really, it's a lot of effort.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. I want to take a couple of minutes here to thank Bud for joining us. It's been an amazing experience. I always love chatting with you, and I'm glad to get to know you a little bit better. I found out some stuff about you tonight I wasn't aware of, and God knows what He's doing. You know, the God that I understand knows what He's doing.
Right.
He puts people in place so that, you know, love can happen, and that's what's happening here tonight and throughout the movement.
Yeah, once you let certain things go in terms of ego, and ego, people look at that and they think, you know, ego is all emotion, and you can actually start to love, and that includes yourself. Everything else just falls into place.
Absolutely, absolutely. Bud, thank you so much for joining us. I look forward to having you here again.
Anytime.
And I'm looking forward to your continued contribution as far as content and helping out with the show. I look forward to working with you on your show in the future many times. And you know, the friends that we have and the mutual friends and the friends that we're going to have are very lucky to have you as a part of their circle.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for...
I appreciate one more thing before we go. I'll just say in the quote of the beautiful late Maya Angelou, you knew then what you knew how to do. When you knew better, you did better. We all know better now. Let's do better.
Amen, brother. Okay, thanks, Bud. Now, before we say goodbye, I just want to give a little bit of a deep thought to what family law corruption does. I want to talk about a young man who recently had a birthday. February 11th would have been little Roan's 14th birthday. The young boy, I'm friends with his mother, Tony. She lives down in San Antonio, Texas. And she told me the story about him, and she's told me all about him. She has 3 children. Their names are Russell, who's the oldest, Maris is the middle girl, and Roan was the youngest. Roan was born February 11, 2003. He was a great kid. He was very adventurous. He enjoyed being outside. He liked the outdoors. He enjoyed cars, trucks. Most of all, he enjoyed building, designing. He would go out to there was this particular tree in the backyard he would go to, and he'd build roads. He'd dig into the ground, and he'd come up with all kinds of intricate designs for his cars and his trucks. At the end of the marriage, when they separated, Roan went to live with his father, and Tony lost her job and her apartment, and at that point, her father, Roan's father, took any visitation privileges away from him. While at Dad's house, Roan wasn't allowed to go outside. He stayed in. He played video games, so on and so forth. He didn't like what was happening to him. So Roan took his own life on March 29th, 2016. And as she was telling me the story, Tony held her ground. She's an amazing woman. When I first met her, she was out of work. She was homeless. She didn't know where she was sleeping that night. And today, she's got a job. She's working for the IRS. She has a stable living environment, and she's able to fight for her kids. She's fighting for her 2 other children, who she now has contact with. She's a beautiful woman, and I appreciate her very much. And Roan's birthday was this past Saturday, and I've shared it with her over the last week or so, and believe me, she's pumped me up far more than I wanted to pump her up. And I just really, I wanted to get that out there to express the extent of the damage that family court do to families. You can't separate parents, children from their parents without, actual cause. It's just not right, especially a loving parent like Bud, Tony, and Tracy, and Jay, and Jim, and Vincent, and Tyler. There's so many of us. I have found that the greatest parents in the world are mostly people who haven't seen their children for days, weeks, months, years, decades. It's an incredible group of people that we're involved with, and I'm a very blessed man to have these people in my life, and I'm a very blessed man to be in the position that I'm in right now. And with that, we can say goodnight. I just wanted to share that to get the impact out there, and I hope tonight we, if we didn't educate you, we touched you in some way. And if you have any questions, by all means, feel free to contact myself. The graphics underneath will tell you how to reach us. And thanks for tuning in, and we hope you'll join us next time when our guest will be Miss Diane Lyons. And we'll talk to you soon. Have a great day, and remember, love is just a word till you give it meaning.